From time to time, life surprises you pleasantly, and in my case, the latest pleasant surprise was Dan Abnett. Tarvitz shot it in the side of the body and knocked it away. He stood over Lucius to protect him from the Xenos scum. Buell came to his side, shooting and chopping. Ferost fought his way to join them, but fell as a limb blade punched clean through his torso from behind. Tychus backed up close. The 3 remaining Emperor's children blazed and sliced away at the enclosing foe. At their feet, Lucius struggled to free himself and get up. "Get this off me, Sol!" he yelled. Tarvitz wanted to. He wanted to be able to turn and hack free his stricken friend, but there was no space. No time. The mecharachnid warrior clades were all over them now, chittering and slashing. If he broke off even for a moment, he would be dead. Thunder boomed in the clear night sky. Caught up in the fierce warfare, Tarvitz paid no heed. Just a shield storm returning. But it wasn't. Meteors were dropping out of the sky into the clearing around them, impacting hard and super hot in the red dirt, like lightning strikes. 2, 4, a dozen, 20. Drop pods. The noise of fresh fire rang out above the din of the fight. Bolters boomed. Plasma weapons shrieked. The drop pods kept falling like bombs. "Look!" Buell cried out. "Look!" The mecharachnid were swarming over them. Tarvitz had lost his bolter and could barely swing his broadsword. Such was the density of enemies upon him. He felt himself slowly being borne over by sheer weight of numbers. "Hear me?" The Vox squealed suddenly. What? Say again." "I said, we are Imperial. Do we have brothers in there?" "Yes, in the name of Terra." An explosion. A series of rapid gunshots. A shockwave rocked through the enemy masses. "Follow me in," a voice was yelling, commanding and deep. "Follow me in and drive them back." More searing explosions. Grey bodies blew apart in gouts of flame, spinning broken limbs into the air like matchwood. One whizzing limb smacked into Tarvitz's visor and knocked him onto his back. The world, scarlet and concussed, spun for a second. A hand reached down towards Tarvitz. It swam into his field of view. It was an Astartes gauntlet, white, with black edging. "Up you come, brother!" Tarvitz grabbed it and felt himself hold upright. "My thanks," he yelled, mayhem still raging all around him. "Who are you?" "My name is Tarek, brother," said his savior. "Pleased to meet you." Weshal, everybody, and welcome to another video, and welcome, my dear friends, to a video tracing my progress in the Warhammer 40K universe. Oh yes, if you've been following my channel for quite some time, you know that I only got into Warhammer 40K about, was it 3 weeks ago, a month ago? Possibly 3 weeks ago or something like that. I am currently 6 books in, or 5 books into my journey as far as Warhammer 40K. It's really 5. So I've read the Eisenhorn Omnibus by Dan Abnett, which contains the books Xenos, Malleus, Hereticus, and Magos, plus 4 short stories. And then I got into the Horus Heresy. I'm currently approaching the ending of Horus Rising, which is the first in the series. And so please, if you have read Horus Heresy, of course, there are many people out there who are much more knowledgeable in the Warhammer 40K stories and lore, do not put any spoilers in the comment section down below. I have not reached the ending of the Horus Heresy, Horus Rising yet, but I wanted to make a video about Dan Abnett, an author that I had known previously just from his graphic novel or comic book output. He has written some comics and for the, of course, the mainstream publishers, and I have always considered him to be an alright writer, right? Just having read his comic output. Now, when I read his prose, I realized only then how good of a writer he is. Now, he is a very prolific author. He is a very versatile author, being able to write, genres of all kind, being able to delve into different media, like novels, short stories, and graphic novels, comic books, which, if you know a little bit about those two media, and if you know a little bit about writing, you know that writing a novel versus writing a short story, and versus mainly writing a graphic novel, a comic book, these are very much different things. Writing a comic book is more akin to writing a script for a film. You have to take into consideration the fact that you are writing for a visual medium, that you are writing for an artist if you're not drawing it for yourself. But that means that you can't let yourself go as much as you would with writing a novel. That, of course, you know, as far as the visual medium goes, the rule should be show rather than tell. And so there needs to be this balance between the script, you know, the dialogue, and that which you can see as far as the pictures go, the illustrations, the interior artwork, as they say. And so after having read the Eisenhorn Omnibus, which is really and I've made a review about it on my channel. Should you wish to check it out, just go to my channel, search for it. It's right there. And I've even created a Warhammer 40K playlist, so you can enjoy all my Warhammer 40K videos. It's a very, very good, like, excellently written detective story set in, of course, the grimdark universe of the Warhammer, 40K world. In the 41st millennium, where the Imperium of Man is stretched throughout the galaxy, fighting the chaos, fighting the warp, the demons, and the lords of darkness. And it traces beautifully, basically, if you read the 4 books that I mentioned in the Eisenhorn Omnibus, it traces beautifully the life and the life journey of Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn, and how he started off as this very clean and pure Inquisitor of the Imperium, a true servant of the God Emperor on his golden throne, and the Emperor protects. And then, as many other Inquisitors, as he acquires more knowledge and more experience, he decides to, venture into more, basically to acquire knowledge as far as the warp goes, to educate himself in the ways of the enemy, because he believes that by knowing the weapons of the enemy, he can then use them against the enemy himself. Well, of course, this has a price, and there's a price to be paid for that. And I will leave the rest open. I will not spoil anything here. Reading Horus Heresy is a very much different experience. It is the high fantasy to sword and sorcery, let's say. I don't know if that comparison is something that you consider to be good, but I would say so. Where Eisenhorn was a detective story about a man, a very quote-unquote street-level story. Horus Heresy is, as I had expected before I started reading it, an epic tracing the history of the greatest treachery in the history of the Imperium of Man, set 10,000 years before the events of Eisenhorn. And that's basically all I know. There was a reading out at the beginning of this video to demonstrate how good Dan Abnett is at writing. This in particular was a battle scene where one a group of Astartes were saved by another group of Space Marines. And it was just a little snippet of the writing skills of Dan Abnett. He really is able to write in a way that you are invested in the story from the beginning to the end. And there are no fill-in passages. There are, or filler passages. There are no passages in which you would feel bored, and that you would feel like skipping. Now, whether we are talking about dialogue, two people just talking about things, or philosophizing about things, because it's not just about action, but it's actually very clever. And there are many food for thought passages in his prose, in his books, as far as at least as far as Warhammer 40K goes. And the descriptions of the spaceships and the environment the characters find themselves in, the descriptions of the events, the narration, the battle scenes, the character developments of the different characters, and you have to pay attention because there are a lot of characters appearing in those books, a lot of supporting characters. They are all very, very nicely thought out and described. And it is something that I really, at this point of my life, haven't expected from a living author, a man that would still be alive and writing. Because I had thought that until the end of my life, I would only be reading dead authors that are long gone, and probably the last contemporary author that I read that was alive was Terry Pratchett, who passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately. But then Abnett surprised me, and it is a nice surprise, and I feel very, very happy to have discovered for myself the Warhammer 40K world, and will continue tracing my journey on this YouTube channel. Right, so let me know in the comments down below what you think. Please remember, no spoilers. And that will be all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.